At first I thought it was just raw meat. Then I saw a human finger sticking out of the zipper. I helped my neighbor carry a bag filled with body parts, and I didn't even know until they found 3 missing girls inside his freezer, and my fingerprints were all over the bags. Emily had lived at Conji Apartments for just over a year. It was quiet, boring, the kind of place where neighbors barely made eye contact. The man who lived there, Jack Marsh, never spoke. He wore gloves, black ones, always. Even when the sun was blazing, he didn't say hello, didn't smile, just nodded once, if ever. Late at night, Emily often heard faint dragging sounds from his flat. Heavy, slow, like a couch or suitcase being pulled across the floor. Sometimes at 3 a.m., she'd peek through the peephole, and there he'd be standing in the hallway, facing the wall, motionless still. Just standing. She thought it was odd. She never thought it was dangerous. Until the day he knocked on her door. It was raining that Sunday. Emily had just made a cup of tea when she heard the knock. She opened the door. There was Jack, soaked, in gloves, and unusually polite. "Sorry to bother you," he said softly. "Need help carrying something downstairs? It's a bit heavy." He pointed toward a long black duffel bag by his door. "Just gym gear," he added. Emily hesitated. The bag didn't look like gym gear. It looked old, heavy, wet, and it stank like blood and rot mixed with cheap cleaning spray. But she didn't want to be rude, so she stepped out. They lifted it together. The bag sagged oddly, like something inside had bones and joints. On the stairs, the zipper snagged open slightly, just a few centimeters. And that's when she saw it. A finger, pale, cold, with chipped red nail polish. She gasped, but Jack didn't panic. He simply adjusted the bag and muttered, "Careful. Don't want anything falling out." Emily didn't speak. She was shaking but didn't know why. She followed him to the car, a black Toyota, no license plate. They stuffed the bag into the trunk. "Thanks," Jack said with a smile. "You're a good neighbor." Then he drove off. Emily didn't move. She just stood in the rain, heart hammering in her ears. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat up until 2:47 a.m., phone in hand, searching keywords like missing girl, disappeared near gym, vanished Conji Apartments area. 3 names popped up. Elizabeth Ali, 22. Last seen leaving a gym nearby. Brianna Sunday, 19. Reported missing after taking a cab. Junita Daniels, 25. Vanished during a morning jog. All of them gone within a 10-day window. All of them young, slim, pretty, just like the finger she saw. Emily dropped the phone. She held her face in her hands. Her body trembled. But she didn't call the police, because what could she even say? "I think I saw a finger in my neighbor's gym bag. They'd call her paranoid, maybe crazy, maybe a suspect." So she said nothing. 3 nights later, there was another knock. She peeked through the peephole. Jack, again. Same gloves, same stare. This time 2 bags. "Need help again," he said, voice flat. Emily shook her head. I have a bad back." Jack tilted his head slowly. "You helped before. Wouldn't want that to come back to you, would we?" She didn't understand what he meant, but her hands began to shake, so she nodded and followed him. The second bag was heavier, much heavier. It dragged across each step, and when Emily shifted it, her hand touched something warm. And that's when she heard it a soft moan, weak, muffled, human. Her breath caught. She froze mid-step, staring at the bag. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Jack turned slowly, his face blank. "You're imagining things." They reached the car again. Same black Toyota. Same empty license space. This time, when Jack opened the trunk, Emily looked inside. She saw blonde hair and a face pressed against the inside lining of the bag. Eyes wide, mouth gagged, frozen. "Don't look too closely," Jack said. "Curiosity is how most people end up inside." That night, Emily didn't eat, didn't sleep. She sat alone in the dark, shaking. She didn't call the police. She couldn't. Because now she realized something terrifying. Jack knew she wouldn't. Not yet. It had been 5 days since Emily helped Jack carry the second bag. 5 days of nausea, 5 days of silence, and 5 nights of no sleep. Jack hadn't returned since that night. His apartment was quiet. No footsteps, no dragging. It was as if he vanished, or was watching from somewhere else. But Emily couldn't take it anymore. That morning, as the rest of Conji apartment stirred with morning routines, Emily slid on gloves, tied her hair back, and crept out of her apartment. She had one goal: get inside Jack's flat. She expected it to be bolted, chained, sealed. But no, when she turned the knob, it clicked open. That alone made her stomach churn. Inside, the apartment smelled of bleach, rust, and something rotten hiding beneath fake cleanliness. It was minimal. Too minimal. No photos, no clothes, no color. Just one chair, a metal table, a freezer humming faintly in the corner, and a single black notebook lying in the center of the table. Emily approached it slowly. Her gloved hand hovered above it. She opened it. Each page had a name. Elizabeth Ali. Crossed out in red Brianna Sunday. Crossed out Junita Daniels. Crossed out Emily Jennings. Not crossed out. Today's date, written next to her name. Underneath, helped me carry her. Knows too much. Dispose of next. Her heart dropped. She gasped so loudly she clamped a hand over her own mouth. Her name wasn't at the bottom. It was at the end. She was the last on the list, which meant Jack was done collecting. Now he was cleaning up. She stuffed the notebook into her jacket. As she backed away from the table, she heard a click. The freezer door. It wasn't fully shut. Something inside shifted slightly. Emily didn't dare open it. She turned and ran. Out of the apartment. Down the hall. Back to her flat. Later that evening, there was a knock. But it wasn't Jack. It was the police. 2 officers. 1 male, 1 female. Neutral tone. "No emotion. Are you Emily Jennings? We need you to come with us." She froze. "What's this about?" "We just have a few questions. Regarding a body that was found in the dumpster behind Conji Apartments." Inside the station, Emily sat under fluorescent lights, her hands shaking. The officer placed a photo on the table. A black duffel bag. Zipped up, but stained with blood. "You recognize this?" She said nothing. The officer opened a folder. "We found your fingerprints on it. We also have sect footage of you helping a man carry 2 bags into a black car with no license plates." Emily felt her chest collapse. "I was helping a neighbor, Jack Marsh. He told me it was gym stuff. There is no resident named Jack Marsh listed at Conji Apartments." She blinked. "What?" The officer slid over an official list. Apartment 3 billion was listed as vacant. It had been that way for 3 months. Emily's voice cracked. "I swear he lives there. I can show you the apartment. He has a freezer. He kept the girls." But when they searched apartment 3 billion later that night, it was empty. Spotless. No freezer. No notebook. No table. No blood. No bags. Just dust and walls. The police looked at her like she was insane. "Emily," the female officer said, "are you sure you haven't been seeing things? Sometimes trauma plays tricks on memory." Emily wanted to scream. Instead, she sat alone in the station's cold room, realizing she had been set up. Jack knew this would happen. He left the bag for her. He wiped the apartment. He knew they wouldn't believe her. She was now the perfect suspect, and he was gone. Or worse, still close. It had been 4 days since Emily was held at the station. At first, she was just a witness. But slowly, the tone of the interrogations shifted. They stopped asking her about Jack. They started asking her, when did you last see Elizabeth Alley alive? Did you have any history with Brianna Sunday? Why are your fingerprints on multiple bags? Why did you wait days before speaking up? And then, why were your apartment keys found in the dumpster beside the latest body? Local news stations ran headlines, young woman tied to missing girls. Killer or victim? The Emily Jennings mystery twisted game. She helped move the bags. Emily watched the news from her holding cell, her face blurred, but her story public. And worst of all, Jack's name was never mentioned, because to the police, Jack didn't exist. On the 5th day, the cell door opened. Emily looked up, tired, pale, broken, and then she saw them. Her mother and father, eyes red but smiling through tears. Her younger sister, clutching a small Bible. Her brothers standing behind them like protectors. Her best friend Ava, holding a flask of hot food in shaking hands. "You're not alone," her mother said softly. "We believe you, Emily. We always will." Every single day they came, bringing food, blankets, hot tea, reading scriptures to her, laying hands on the walls of the station, praying aloud. They didn't care who stared. "Even if the whole world turns its back," her father whispered, "we will stand with you." On the 7th day of her detainment, her sister brought a message. "We've started a 7-day dry fast for you," she whispered through the glass. "Me, Mom?" "Dad, Uncle George, Aunt Linda, everyone. No food, no water, just prayer and worship. We're going into battle with God." Each night, her family gathered in their home. They lit candles. They knelt on bare floors. They cried out, weeping, "Oh God, reveal the truth. Let the trap the enemy set be turned against him. Let every lie fall. Let Jack be exposed." They prayed in tongues. They sang hymns that rattled the windows. They declared Emily free even before they saw it. And while they prayed, the enemy panicked. Officer Miguel, one of the first responders, was found dead in his car, shot twice in the head. No weapon found, his laptop gone, and the sect file backup files he had downloaded deleted. 2 days later, Ava's phone started ringing at midnight. No number, just a whisper when she answered, "Stop visiting the killer, or you'll be next." The calls didn't stop. They got louder, angrier, until one night, her phone buzzed and she received a video. It was from her own living room, a 6-second clip, filmed in the dark. Someone had been in her house while she slept. She ran straight to Emily's mother. "Jack's alive, and he's watching all of us." Despite everything, Emily's bail was rejected. The prosecutor argued she was a flight risk and potentially responsible for serial homicides. Emily sat in her cell, tears soaking her hands. But that night, she felt something strange. Peace, because her sister had smuggled in a small handwritten psalm tucked inside her shoe. "Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken but endures forever." Psalm 125 verse 1. On the 7th day of the family's fast, her brother burst into the police station waving a flash drive. "Play this," he shouted. "Play it now." It was a grainy recording from an old alley camera near Conji Apartments. Someone had deleted it from the city archive, but he'd retrieved it from an offline backup. The footage showed Emily and Jack carrying the bag together, clearer than ever before. But then it zoomed in on Jack's face. Finally, a real, visible face. A second later, a gasp filled the room. One of the senior officers stood up. "Wait, I've seen him before." Another pulled out a police file. That's Peter Marsh. He used to go by Jack. He was discharged from psychiatric care 3 years ago. Vanished. He's wanted for questioning in 2 unsolved disappearances. Everything changed in seconds. The lie began to crack. Officers scrambled to reopen cold files. Fingerprints were rushed to the lab. Emily's notebook was retrieved from evidence. The signature matched Jack's. And then they reopened apartment 3 billion with a black light. Blood everywhere, under the tiles, in the air vents, on the ceiling. He had painted over everything, but not well enough. Emily was released from holding that night. Tears filled her eyes as she stepped outside into the cold night. Her family stood in the rain, arms wide, singing, "You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised." And for the first time in weeks, Emily smiled. She wasn't just a survivor. She was proof that darkness trembles when people pray with fire. Her mother wept into her shoulder. Her sister sang under her breath. Her father gripped her hand and whispered, "You're coming home, baby. You're coming home." But even as they drove away from the station, Emily knew it wasn't over. She had been released, but Jack was still out there. And now she had to find him. 2 days after her release, Emily received an anonymous envelope at her doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside, a faded photo of Jack Marsh standing beside several men in white robes. A blood-stained invitation. A small burned symbol that looked like a black sun, wrapped in barbed wire. On the back, the purifiers: "We cleanse, we silence, we erase." Emily gasped. Jack wasn't just a lone monster. He was part of something ancient, organized. Even later that week, Emily received a video call from Vivian Towson, a British investigative journalist who had been tracking a serial killer for over a decade. "Emily, I believe you. You're Jack Marsh." He was in Sweden in 2015 under the name Lars Ekström. Canada in 2019 as Joseph Malley. Each time, young women vanished. And each time, someone else took the blame. Vivian shared her findings. Every victim had something in common. They all had a neighbor, a quiet, glove-wearing man, a helper, a Jack. And in each country, there was local police protection shielding him. Emily's blood ran cold. Vivian dug deeper. She discovered phone records and bank transactions connecting Jack to a high-ranking officer, Chief Daniel Kessler, the very man who had dismissed Emily's claims. Even worse, Kessler's son, Adrian, was listed as a training member of the Purifiers. It all began to make sense. Jack was protected by people in power. Emily had been framed to keep the secret buried, and the cult was still active, all over the world. Working with Vivian International Police and 2 brave detectives in Emily City, a sting operation was planned. Emily agreed to be the bait. A fake broadcast was released. Emily Jennings releases memoir and joins new neighborhood. They knew Jack would see it. And they were right. 1 week later, an anonymous YouTube channel went live. A video titled "Purification Begins." It showed a hooded Jack standing in a basement. Behind him, a girl was tied to a chair. He spoke directly to the camera. She got away once, but not this time. "Emily, you're invited to watch the cleansing." What Jack didn't know, the stream was being traced. Interpol and local police stormed the abandoned farmhouse just outside the city in real time. They found the girl's still alive blood-stained knives bags, similar to the ones Emily once carried, and Jack. The courtroom was packed. For the first time, Jack's face was public. Unmasked, pale, dead-eyed. Emily testified with fire in her voice and tears in her eyes. She pointed at him and said he destroyed lives. He used fear as a leash. But light exposed him, and now he'll never hurt another soul. Vivian presented her global investigation. Dozens of names, photos, missing persons, all connected to the purifiers. The final shock. Chief Kessler and his son were arrested mid-trial after evidence proved they had shielded Jack, manipulated records, and sacrificed innocent lives to earn ranks in the cult. Jack Marsh was sentenced to death by lethal injection. His last words were chilling. The purifiers will rise again. Chief Kessler was sentenced to life in prison, without parole for obstruction of justice, cult conspiracy, and murder by proxy. Adrian Kessler, his son, was also sentenced to life, after confessing to participating in 2 abductions in 2018 and 2021. Months passed. Emily moved out of the city to a small, peaceful town. She started therapy. She began writing a book. The Girl WHO Carried the Bag, her memoir, became a bestseller. Not because of the horror, but because of the faith. She wrote about her family, their prayers, their fasting, their belief when the world mocked her. The world said I was guilty. But my mother said, "Let God speak," and He did. Her story inspired thousands. Other survivors reached out. Other helpers broke their silence. Emily became a voice for the voiceless. In a beautiful sunlit church, Emily's family gathered one Sunday morning. They sang the same hymn they sang the day she walked free. You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. Emily stood up at the altar and spoke. Evil walked my hallway. But so did mercy. And in the end, mercy won. Be careful who you trust, even if they live next door. Not everyone who smiles at you means well. Evil often hides in the most ordinary places, even in a friendly neighbor's helping hand. Some people come into your life for a darker reason. Some connections are not divine. They are traps in disguise. Always pray for discernment. Never ignore red flags. When something feels off, it probably is. Don't brush off your instincts. Trust that inner voice. Evil thrives in silence. If you see something strange, speak up. Staying quiet might keep you safe for a moment, but silence can make you an accomplice to tragedy. Power can be corrupt even within the system. Not all those in uniform are just. And not all justice comes quickly. But the truth, no matter how long it hides, always finds a voice. Family and faith can move mountains. Emily's freedom didn't come from lawyers or luck. It came from a family that fasted, prayed, and stood in the gap when she had no strength left. Don't underestimate the power of a praying family. Sometimes you are the voice the world needs. By standing up, Emily didn't just free herself, she exposed a global network. One person's courage can save countless others. Don't let trauma silence you. Speak right, heal. Your story might be someone else's survival guide. Tell it, even if your voice shakes. What if Emily hadn't spoken up? What if her family didn't believe her? What if you're living next door to someone just like Jack? This story isn't just fiction. It's a reminder that behind the smiles, behind closed doors, there are secrets. But with courage, faith, and truth, light will always overcome darkness. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, if it made you think, if it reminded you to look twice, then don't keep it to yourself. Please like this video, tell us your thoughts in the comments below, and share this story with your family and friends. You never know who it might help. More thrilling, emotional, and eye-opening stories are coming your way. We are Delia Storytime across all platforms. And remember, not all neighbors are bad, but not all neighbors are good either. Stay alert, stay safe, and stay connected to the light. See you soon. Bye for now.